So you feel stuck. It's like you're stuck in the moment of the trauma. But I'm going to show you how to go from moment to movement so that you can thrive instead of just survive after trauma and abuse. The life-changing effects of trauma on all aspects of our lives can leave us overwhelmed and confused. On some level, we feel stuck in an unrelenting limbo while appearing to cope with daily life. Others don't see that we're screaming inside. We feel stuck in a traumatic moment, wondering why moving forward is so overwhelming. When we see healing as a destination instead of a process, it's easy to get frustrated and even feel hopeless. We are survivors from the moment of the first inflicted pain. We want to thrive and not just survive. Recovery is not defined by complete absence of thoughts or feelings about the past. It's living with it in a way that no longer controls your life. So be patient with yourself as you move through the process. You may find out that you aren't as stuck as you may think. So how do I know if I am traumatized? It only takes one traumatic event to cause damage. The World Health Organization reports that 70% of respondents to their 2019 survey reported experiencing at least one traumatic event. If you ever experience one of the following, you have been traumatized. Intimate partner or sexual violence, accidents or injuries, physical violence, war-related violence, unexpected traumatic death, or you witnessed trauma to a loved one. This list is not exhaustive, but you've experienced physical trauma if you had an injury of any kind, including serious illness or surgery. You've experienced emotional trauma if you've had a distressing experience that leaves you feeling unsafe, helpless, or overwhelmed. Now, these are interrelated because physical trauma can lead to the emotional trauma like fear and stress. Emotional trauma can cause physical symptoms like fatigue, headaches, or changes in your eating and sleeping habits. Before we get into the meat of it, please hit the like and subscribe button. It's free, and it's one of the best ways to show support for the channel. Here are the 4 stages of trauma recovery. Tell me if you see yourself in one or more of these. They're safety and stabilization, remembrance and mourning, reconnecting and integrating, and finally, consolidation and resolution. Now, I ask if you see yourself in any of these descriptions because if you see yourself in any of this, you're likely farther along in your healing than you think you are. Let's talk about stage 1, safety and stabilization. Now, trauma infects our sense of safety, right? Of course it does. It erodes our trust in ourselves and others, and it presents a challenge in our relationships. So depending on the severity of the trauma, it may take weeks or months to regain a sense of safety. Chronic trauma or trauma inflicted for extended periods of time may take years to address. In this stage of safety and stabilization, the goal is to establish a sense of security as you navigate your healing journey. Now, here you're in a supportive environment where you can regain a sense of control over the situation. Therapeutic techniques and interventions can emphasize physical and emotional safety. Stage 2 is remembrance and mourning. This stage involves exploring and mourning losses associated with the trauma, and it allows you space to grieve and express your emotions. I want to say this about remembrance and mourning. Let's say that you were getting free from a domestic violence situation, and that joker was a real butthole, okay? It's not unusual to grieve the loss of that relationship. Hear me out here. Even though they were knuckleheads, there was something that you saw in that person that caused you to even get involved with them. What you're grieving is the loss of the relationship that you thought you would have. the loss of the time that you think you lost because you got caught up there. And you may be grieving many other aspects. So it's okay to understand that there's going to be some grief there. It's very important to have an experienced mental health professional guide you through this stage of recovery. Here you come to terms with the trauma experience as you start healing and growing. It may also be helpful to vent your feelings through journaling or through creative outlets like art or music. This is important because in the midst of trauma, we often stuff our emotions. We have to do something to survive that on an emotional level. But by leaning into our feelings, leaning into things that we ignored, then we begin to process and make meaning of what we've experienced. Now that you're in a safe place, you can allow yourself to feel again. Those feelings are part of your healing, and every tear you shed is moving you toward thriving after you've survived. Stage 3, reconnecting and integrating. Now, in stage 3, you begin to create a new sense of self or reconnect with your personal values and find hope in a new future. The trauma no longer defines you. Instead, you integrate the trauma into your life story. You recognize the impact of victimization as you take concrete steps toward empowered and self-determined living. Stage 4 is consolidation and resolution. See, in this stage is where you maintain the progress you've made. So this is the maintenance phase, that as you continue to integrate the past into your here and now, it becomes a strength for you instead of a weakness. It becomes a power base to help other people. You know, you're prepared now to continue working through the negativity, but you may run into some challenges. Okay, so keep your therapist on board as you start integrating traumatic memories and experiences into your story. But as you continue to develop the new you, old emotions become less intense. Okay, you're beginning to thrive as you find closure and move forward into a new future. You're letting go of trauma's false guilt and shame. Now, I can't state this truth enough. This is a long process during which you may encounter emotional roadblocks. The key is to view these as growing pains. They are not failures. They are not setbacks. They are necessary challenges to move you through the abuse aftermath and into the thriving light of victory. So, to recap, there are 4 stages of recovery in the recovery process after trauma. Safety and stabilization, where you get moved into a safe place to begin to process what you've been through. Remembrance and mourning, where you remember what went on. You're not in denial about it, but you are mourning a dream that never happened for you. Reconnecting and integrating. This is the power phase, where you begin to integrate your experiences into the power of who you truly are, and it begins to become part of a superpower for you to help other people. And finally, the consolidation and resolution phase, where you maintain some equilibrium, but you might still run into challenges. I hope this has been helpful to you. Understand that it's a process, and every time you get triggered doesn't mean that you're set back. It doesn't mean that you failed. It's part of the process. See, you're stuck if you don't recognize that the triggers can happen, and you're not less a person because of the trigger happening, but how you process that trigger and prepare a great game plan for future triggers is what empowers you so that you don't get stuck to a past you can't change. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Now check the description box for the supportive resources for your journey. If you're a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault, emotional trauma, or abuse, you have higher levels of stress and anxiety than individuals who don't have those histories. I'm Dr. Linda F. Williams, your transformation coach, and I'm going to give you practical steps to overcome anxiety and stress right in the middle of chaos.
Using secrets from the movie Inception, I make you the master counter-extractor when your mind becomes the scene of the crime.
And always remember, your greatest power is realizing the truth of who you are. Know that truth.